I think that we're losing, or we have lost creativity, innovation, energy, because all you got to do is play Afrobeat and or EDM. I am annoyed at the fact, speaking about EDM, annoyed at the fact that down Ultra took over WMC down in Florida, and we also talk about Ron DeSantis and his racist piece of. I don't know how EDM or Ultra was able to just the grandson took over WMC took over Soulful House. I'll leave Florida alone. We need to, if we're really, really into our music and bringing us back forward, we need to unify. We need to discuss. We need to converse what's next for us, and especially for the people that really rely on this music for a living. That's very important. That's essential. Somehow we need to figure this out. It's a divisive scene. It is. How do we come together and learn how to make a living off of it? Not me personally, necessarily, but the people that are in the game.
Today is Wednesday, July 26, 2023. Who are we speaking with?
DJ Raz, also known as Reggie Seal.
How'd you come up with your DJ name?
Great. It's my initials, Reginald Andre Seal. So, and I'm a junior, so I wanted to, long story short, I wanted to just stem away from Reggie Senior, so I had to give myself a name. And a couple of funny stories behind that too is when I was growing up, my boys in Coney Island had a nickname for me, which was Egghead, because I had a receding hairline, so my forehead was protruding. I also pledged a fraternity, and they gave me a name. So after a while, I was like, let me give myself a name. So I came up with Raz.
I love that. I love that. Why do you DJ?
I DJ because I was a dancer first. I called myself a dancer first. I was a break dancer. And for when I was coming up from Coney Island and going to different parties, I kept saying, why is this DJ screwing up? Because there's so much beautiful music out there. And why is it possible that a party can suck because a DJ can't play all the hits? And I started DJing.
That's great. When did you start DJing?
1983.
And was this at home? Was this in public? Was this in your bedroom? Was it at school?
Well, the friends that I stuck you have to forgive me right now. I have to bring the adrenaline down. Was out playing softball with my lady, throwing the ball around and stuff like that. So I might not seem focused right now, looking straight at the camera. So excuse me for the first few minutes. What was the question again? The DJ. When did I start DJing?
Yes. When did you start DJing? Okay,
so yeah, I started DJing like about 83. My boy Pete Morris was a DJ. Started out DJing, and all of us in Coney Island were we were DJing and we were dancing and we were MCing. Long story short on that, he started to go to Fordham. He went to Fordham for college. So he sold me his set. Not only did he sell me a set, but he also showed me how to DJ, and history was made.
What's a common mistake DJs make?
Oh, there's so many. I could pick it by...
Like when you go out and you go out just to listen and you see somebody and it's like, oh, damn, that really just gets on my damn nerves when I do that. Like, what's the number one thing that just triggers you? What is it? You could tell us.
Okay.
You don't have to name names. No names.
Yeah. Not being aware of your crowd. Okay, so I'm not. I'll say this much. Not being aware of your crowd and what's going on with the actual party. I used to DJ with a partner of mine, and yeah, I'm going to spill the beans a little bit. I'm not trying to be vindictive or anything, but when I hosted and promoted parties at Von King Park, this one DJ, my former partner, just did not have a clue about parties whatsoever, and it was so frustrating. He didn't know that there was a concept behind beat matching. He didn't know a lot of the artists. He didn't know the DJs. He didn't even know how to hook up equipment. He had no clue about hooking up equipment. That's a very important thing. And he was supposedly in this business for over 30 years. So to put him to the side, now that my mind is kind of is unlocking now, the biggest pet peeve I have with DJs nowadays is the fact that they just don't read their crowd, and that anybody can become a DJ nowadays. You can, anybody, as long as you know how to play some music. Now the sync button is in full effect. Paris Hilton, I've been in this business since '83. Paris Hilton makes thousands, maybe millions of dollars more than I do, and she hasn't been in the game as long as I've been. No shade, no jealousy, but that's an example.
I appreciate that. So the topics that trend most on the podcast are the loft and the Paradise Garage. Tell us your loft story and tell us your Paradise Garage story.
I think that my Paradise Garage story is the ultimate. And I never been to the loft, but I did vibe with Dave Mancuso back and forth. May he rest in peace. The Paradise Garage, I was coming from Coney Island, and I was going to the Latin Quarter, and I was going to different places, 16, 17, 18 years old. And I was hardcore into hip hop, hardcore, listening to Chuck Chill Out, listening to Red Alert. It goes on and on and on. And that was my go-to in the Latin Quarter, those legendary days. I thank goodness that my friends, my boys from Coney Island were so open to different genres, number one, and not afraid to hang out or mingle with other people, homosexuals. They were like, we're listening to In Touch right now. We're listening to 10 City. We're listening to CeCe Rogers. We got to go to this club called the Garage. And I heard them tell stories. They went maybe 1 or 2 weeks before I'd gone. And they said, yo, why don't you come with us? And I went out there. That place just blew my mind. We had to wait online. We had to ask someone who had a membership if we can get in on his membership. Most of the time it's his, because it was predominantly male gay individuals, and we would get in. All I know is that I saw when I went in, I saw Mike Tyson and Eddie Murphy hanging out. Nobody's really stressing them. I saw Prince. Madonna got booed. I don't think I was there for that. Colonel Abrams, may he rest in peace. All I know is that people were losing their minds in there, and I was dancing. And the dance floor stayed packed. So at one point, I saw a young lady with that was wearing some spandex, a bra, and a painter's cap, a biker's cap, and she was working it out. Coming from a hip hop place, a hip hop club, a couple of hip hop clubs, I was just like, I need to start to see if I can get my dance steps together and walk up to her and ask her to dance. And I wasn't used to the tempo at the time. Anybody knows as a DJ or anything else like that knows that BPMs are over for house music, usually for house music are over 116, 117. hip hop is 101, 102. So I was working it out, getting my dance steps together, doing the 1-2 steps, and I couldn't keep up for a while. So a half hour, when I finally got together, I walked up to that young lady and said, "Would you like to dance?" She looked me up and down and said, "You don't ask anybody in here to dance. You just do it." So from that point on, I lost my mind. And but I try to hate on the garage. I try to hate on them. We went back home. I said, it's all smoked up in there, and it's this and that. I don't like it. I don't think it's all that. I should go back to the Latin Quarter. The next week rolled around. They said, "You're Reg. We're going to the Latin. We're going to the garage. You coming? Yeah, let's go." So from that point on, that was it. Just kept going and going and going. I did not have the experience of going to the loft, unfortunately. Around that time that I'd gone to the garage, that's when I started going. I went to school upstate in Albany. So I was a broke college student for the longest time. I came down a couple of times and went to the garage and since then, and even the shelter, but I could not really experience the loft the way I wanted to. And rest in peace to David Mancuso. That man, he reached out to me off of a house music message board, and we vibed a little bit. He knew his stuff. I don't think that I had to be the one to let everybody know that, but he knew sound, he knew music, and he was a great man.
Well said. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born on this side of Brooklyn, but I live by the Brooklyn Museum now, Crown Heights, but we moved out to Coney Island. And that's probably one of the greatest experiences that an individual would have. The furthest side of Coney Island, it's a small island, but you get to know everybody. We had beefs, we had friendships, we had family getting started and stuff like that. Coney was great. I mean, I played baseball against Stephon Marbury's older brother, Juju. Can't remember his real name right now, but I don't know why. But yeah, we had some great vibes out in Coney Island, and it included Crews, CREWS, Crews. I think that a lot of us in Brooklyn were too sophisticated, or just we weren't into gangs, but we call ourselves crews. And they were MC crews, they were DJ crews, dance crews. That's what we did. Before that, other stuff, I guess, migrated from the rest of the country, especially maybe California. Maybe I'm being wrong when I say this, so excuse me. But we weren't saying anything. We weren't really declaring ourselves as part of gangs. And so, yeah, I'm from Coney Island, and then went to SUNY Albany and stayed up there for a while and came back, and I'm now in Crown Heights.
Tell us about your college radio show at SUNY Albany.
DJ Passion, shout outs to you. It was a radio station that was only 100 watts. So we didn't really stretch across the entire Capital District area, but we held it down. We held it down well. To this very day, I got to say that we weren't very professional, but we were recognized more than, shout out to my brothers from WVCR and RPI. They had 20,000 watts, 30,000 watts, but they still couldn't keep with us because we were SUNY Albany, and a lot of us were from the city. It taught me a lot. It did tell me a lot to actually have a good radio presence, although most of us weren't that professional. But
did you play house? Did you play hip hop? What did you play? What was
yeah, good question. Yeah, what it was, I had to break up. I had to rotate Tuesdays with this guy named Brian Singleton or Singletary. Excuse me for not remembering exactly what your name is, so I'm not being dismissive or disrespectful. But I had to rotate Tuesdays with this gentleman, which I didn't think I had too much of a problem with because I had class and I had to do a lot of things. And so every other Tuesday was good for me. So I would play every 3 hours I will play 3 hours every other Tuesday, rotating with Brian. And Brian had a very eclectic kind of taste of music himself, and he didn't go to the school. So I figured that I could play house music and no one would bother me. And there was so many people that were called up. It was prime time for the SUNY students, SUNY State University of New York students, because our dinner time was from 5 to 8. So you go to the mess halls or the cafeterias during your time in the different dorms, and you can listen to me at the same time, one way or another. And what amazed me as a young kid was the fact that a lot of people will call up and ask for the latest in hip hop. So I would say, or reggae, I would say, listen, you've got everything else going on. I'm only on every other Tuesday. Why are you flooding the request line asking for something different? This is what we're doing. So it was the first time that I actually had to experience, if you will, the ignorance of other individuals that just would not concede or just be willful to listen to. You don't even have to listen. You could be on another radio station. So there was a lot that I learned, but later on, I mean, back then I didn't know that people were actually listening and appreciating who I was until the past few years. So shout outs to my WCDB folks, 90.9 FM for life.
Tell people, what is Black Underground?
You're talking about the group that was on
Coney Island, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Pernell Morrison, that was Timmy Richardson, and I forget what that was Taboo from Soul Summit, and one other cat, excuse me for not remembering your name, I'm gonna say Ace, or I want to say somebody else, I can't remember who exactly the other individual was, so excuse me for not. It'll probably hit me later on, so my Tourette syndrome will probably kick in. But it was those cats that were playing the Coney Island parties back when, in most people's minds, weren't a popular place to be. I remember once I got involved, I'll spill the business. Timmy and Pernell kind of had a falling out, and whoever that other individual is. So he wasn't around anymore. And the next year or two, I came in and started playing with Pernell. Timmy and Pernell are good now, so it's not like I'm saying, spread some kind of beef. They're really good now. They've buried the hatchet a few years ago. Pernell and I connected because we found out that we were about a block or two away from each other. He was in C-Rise and I was in Sandburg, which is only about a block away in Coney Island, and we really bonded. And so Black Underground, I started playing with them for a while. And another person that I think he's going to probably correct me later on or give me some kind of beef, but I'll still say it anyway. I think that he was the one that put on Ray Vasquez, because I remember Ray Vasquez coming through during the time that I wasn't playing anymore. And now you can see what Ray is doing on the boardwalk.
I'll tell people what year this was roughly. What year
this was? 96, 97.
Perfect. So people can see y'all were doing it first,
Yeah. Oh, we have receipts. Black Underground is what broke open Coney Island. They had sponsorship. Pernell is a genius. They had sponsorship from Gregory and Paul's. So it wasn't like he was doing it for free, and also he was getting the electricity from that concession stand, Gregory and Paul's, which is now known as Paul's Daughter. So yeah, he did that. And then everybody else, maybe I'm not saying the correct word, but everybody else spawned off of that. Preston, may you rest in peace, Curvin, Ray Vasquez. And then, I guess I can mention Rican too, but we can get into that later on.
Let's pivot. Tell people what Bang the Party is and your involvement there.
Wow, you did some.
I'm a journalist. I gotta come correct.
wow, Bang the Party was with E-Man Clark well, he was the one and Laurie Cavall. Ooh, I'm sorry I didn't mention you sooner. Yeah, that was the two of them would throw in Bang the Parties, and it was hosted by my sister from Coney Island, Sybil Jeffries, better known as Sweet Sable Jeffries, or Sweet Sable. She was hostessing, and it was a great party, and they were one of the first individuals that I think that really put me on, aside from Rayhan, so I'm going to shock you in a second too, where they did open turntable. And open turntable night was basically, DJs just come through and just start playing their sets. And I will be proud enough to say to you, I used to rip it. I'll come in, rip my set, and I had the support of Sib. May she rest in peace. Love you, sis. The funny thing about Bang the Party too was that while they were opening up Frank's Lounge with house music, they were also doing parties over at 205 Christie Street in Manhattan. And this was during the time, this is the pivot that was coming from house music as well, where you had that obnoxious, we see Saturday Night Fever, they kind of covered that as well, where there was this a supposed obnoxiousness about Manhattan being better than Brooklyn when it comes to the parties. So most people wanted to be in Manhattan, and a lot of people were saying Manhattan's the place to be, while we were holding it down in Brooklyn. Now look what's going on with house music. We're not going to Manhattan that often anymore. We're in Bushwick, we're in Williamsburg, Crown Heights, we're in Coney Island, Bed-Stuy. We're all over Brooklyn for house music. You very rarely get to see anything going on in Manhattan. And so I'm going to reiterate the fact that Bang the Party even went to the point where they said, you know what? Because they came to Frank's Lounge because 205 Christie, something was going on with it. And it was like a renovation or something going on with 205 Christie. And maybe a couple other spots. I can't remember exactly what was going on. But once those spots came back up, people were like, well, I think we're better off at Frank's Lounge. And so they actually threw a competition party where they ran buses, like shuttle buses, saying, listen, either you're going to be here or you're going to be here, and we want you to vote. Which one is better? And of course, we voted for Frank's. Like, get out of here. Get out of here with that. So shouts to Laurie and E-Man and Sib for giving me my shot, because that definitely gave me a good launch. I love playing music, and they gave me the opportunity to play.
Let's talk about music for a bit. There's a time when hip hop and house were one. What happened?
I never liked merge. I never liked it. Hip hop and house, they did the hip house thing, and I never liked it. I knew it wasn't going anywhere. It was for me personally, my opinion is that house music, unfortunately, followed behind the same history as disco. When house music exploded, now everything had to be house music. You had to have hip hop implemented with the merged with house music. You had to have reggae merged with house music. And it was a nightmare. And the perfect example for me right now, I'm sorry, I don't know. I hate Girl I House You by the Jungle Brothers. Don't ever play that crap in front of me. Don't ever play. I will rag you. Don't play that bull. You know, that record, I mean, the original to that record was by it was a Royal House. That was Todd Terry. Can You Feel It? And I mean, they did two different variations of that. And then they decided, people come up to me and say, yo, I want you to play some house music. And I will start to get into like the warning to maybe warm them up by Logic. And they'll come, no, could you play some? They're going, these people will come to me and ask me for KY Stomp and Girl I House You. And you don't understand how much I just want to reach across and backslap somebody. sorry.
Tell
I don't
us how
have
you
to,
really
I
feel.
don't
This
have
is
to worry about being so politically correct anymore. And I was so worried about it for so many years, and it's not my 9 to 5. So now I can be politically incorrect a little bit. Sorry, what were you about to say?
it's great. How would you define soulful house?
Soulful house is it's about the spirit. It's about instruments, plenty of instruments, not on that 4 on the floor, that constant. We want to hear. Well, I want to hear. I can't say we. I can never speak on behalf of the rest of us, and excuse me for that. But yeah, soulful house is you can hear those vocals. You can hear. It's not something that's sampled. It's not a whole bunch of noise. Yeah, you got some instruments. I love the piano. I love the flute. I love the sax. I love the drums. We don't need to hear. Let me.
Mhm, mhm. Tell us about DJing. How would you describe your DJ style?
Different. Well, everybody says that. Okay, so let me. Perfect example. I got finished telling somebody the other day about how I thought maybe you probably that would probably be one of your questions. But when I played Soul Summit, it's my DJ style is not to constantly play a rhythm at a certain tempo. It's okay to fade out and go into something else that's 101 beats per minute, 95, whatever it is. Bring in an acapella. You don't have to start a song at the very beginning of it. Bring in the break, bring in the chorus, and then go back. One person I give a lot of credit to that really opened my eyes. Love him to death too. Ken Lightfoot. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily play from the beginning of a record. He'll play a track from the middle, exactly where he wants to play it. That is pretty much my style as well. Change it up. And also, in my DJ style, it's call and response. I get cocky. I'll turn the music off and have them sing in the chorus. Crowd participation. Let's go. Working toward a climax. I work towards a climax and then try to keep that climax going. And then, like how they write a book. The plot. That's right now I'm stuck. But yeah, just make sure I work towards a climax and then know how to tail off after a while.
So you brought up Soul Summit. Tell people what Soul Summit is and what was it like playing at Soul Summit in Brooklyn?
Soul Summit was when I was involved, Soul Summit, that was a blessing and a half that happened. And now we are 21, 22 years later. It was the greatest blessing that I was a part of. And what I mean is, all it was is when we started at Kyler Gore Park up the street from Fort Greene. And it was supposed to be, now here's the kicker. It was just supposed to be some spoken word and a little bit of vending with some music in between the spoken word sets. After the first week, and shout outs to Be Polite, Brian, Be Polite, who did spoken word for us for that first week. We never did spoken word again. All of a sudden, it was a dance party. It was a dance party every week. And the reason why it was a dance party is because of what you just asked a little while ago too, was Black Underground. While we were running around with Purnell, Taboo and I started running together to clubs and hanging out. And then Sadiq came in and we started hanging out. I mean, came to my house many times to watch fights. I I had the black box, so I was able to show the fights for free. The legal box. We were hanging out like crazy. And so one day Taboo came to me and said, we're doing this thing. What do you think about it? I said, yeah, I was doing the boardwalk. I love playing music. Even if unfortunately, and I'm selling myself out right now, I'm letting the world know, if you didn't already know. I love playing music so much that most of the time I don't even ask for money. I got a good 9 to 5. I have a great 9 to 5.
What's your 9 to 5?
I'm a reinsurance analyst. I work for AIG, in contract finance. So I most of the time, if you ask me to play for you, most of the time I don't even want the money. I love playing music. So Taboo approached me with this project, and I heard him, but he didn't really address it. He didn't really present it to me the way that I probably should have taken it at the time, because what happened was I was at the Boardwalk the night before, ripping it up. That's during the times when we were at the Boardwalk playing until 11 in the evening, 10, 11 in the evening. So I had my records playing with Purnell, and the very first day down for Soul Summit, I walked down there, and I knew what Taboo was saying to me, but I didn't know exactly to what extent it was. I get down there to Colligor Park, and Jeff and Sadiq have these plastic plates in their hands, you know, the from the food truck. They had those cartons. And so they looked at each other, and they looked at me and said, "Where's your music?" I was coming down to check them out. So I scratched my head going, I didn't know that I was supposed to play, come down with music. I thought you guys were going to do your thing. Immediately, this guy, Colombian Gary, I call him Colombian Gary. He used to hang out with Cleveland. For people out there who know what I'm talking about. He ran up right around me and said, "Don't worry about it. I know where he lives. I got a car right now. I'm going to go grab his music, and we coming right back." I came back, and for maybe about 15, 20 people, I just kept playing. I love playing. Word got out that there was a party going on at Colligor Park on this side of Brooklyn. It's not Coney Island, on Sundays, and that the guys from Coney Island are playing. And after a while, I was trying to correct people, say it's not the guys from Coney Island. I play in Coney Island quite often, and Taboo plays every once in a while, but we're not the guys from Coney Island. I wanted to separate that for the longest time. And there's different instances where I wanted to separate things and stay humble, but unfortunately, things still happen in the business, not just with house music, but with things in general. And that just spiraled out of control. People started coming and coming and coming. And it was maybe the 4th or 5th week down the line. Shout out to Ray Hands also. He's good. You probably need to interview him as well. At some point, before we got started with one of those parties, a cop comes up and says, "Do you have your permit?" And they said, "Yes, we got it right here." He says, "No, do you have your sound permit?" Nobody had a sound permit. I didn't even know about it at the time. I didn't know about a sound permit, and I didn't know exactly what was going on. So we got shut down at Colligor Park because we didn't have a sound permit. The people that came out, I used to work as a real estate agent right across the street from there. On South Oxford for my uncle. A lot of those people in those new houses, we call them new houses, they call the Atlantic Muse. Many of those individuals were clients of mine, whether they were tenants or landlords. So they saw me playing. "Oh, wow, you're over here." They're partying with us. They're having a good time, but they were complaining the next day about what was going on. So when that cop came and said, "You don't have your sound permit, you're shut down now," we had all of those individuals at the community board the Monday morning, at the police precinct, saying, "Listen, we're doing a positive thing here. Nobody is causing any kind of trouble. We need to keep this dance party going." So the community board and the police precinct turned around and said, "You know what? All right, listen, next week, we're going to give you Fort Greene Park temporarily. And then, and that's your last party for the year," and that's how it was scheduled. And then next year, we'll bring you back to Colligor Park. Dude, we got down to Fort Greene Park. I looked around and said, "Guys, staying here." We staying right here. And so history was made.
Wow, what a story. The backstory of Soul Summit in Fort Greene Park. Amazing, amazing. Tell us about how Hotter Than July became.
Hotter Than July, BK. All right, well, let me close out Soul Summit by saying also that none of us knew, I'm gonna get into Hotter Than July, but we also, then people started hitting me up. Lead, there was a guy named Lead, I can't remember his last name, but he hit me up on the email and said, listen, I want to give you guys sponsorship, but these guys are not listening. And the reason, and the way that Lead got my contact information is because DJ Spinner, his wife, me and DJ Spinner go way back. I knew Spinner since he was 11. Not that I'm named, okay, so that's my man. So he found out my information, my contact info from from Keita, his wife. And so he hit me, and I approached these guys and said, listen, I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but this is free money. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with y'all? Okay. Another person that I connected with was a guy by the name of Gary Powell. He had his own cable TV show. Shout out to you too, Gary, on BCAT TV called White Label Pressure. He and I connected. He was ready to launch things on his own, and his dreams were so huge. I was like, okay, you should never cancel somebody's dreams. I said, but before you get there, this is what I'm doing at Fort Greene. And he had two major dreams. One of them was to have a major float at the West Indian Day Parade. So he gonna play house music at the West Indian Day Parade. That was it. He wanted to float. And that was one. The other one was he wanted to do something at Central Park Summer Stage. So I simply said, keep going after that. I ain't gonna crush your dream. I don't even think I had to say I wanted to crush your dream. But this is what I'm doing over at Fort Greene Park. That man brought us Barbara Tucker, Kim Blee, and a whole bunch of my man, I Am Robbie, Can You See the Light? Brought all of them for that last party and showed them this is what we do with video and all this other stuff, along with Lead from Adidas. So we had promotions and we had all of those set in place. So I just wanted to make sure I shouted out Gary Powell and Lead and those other individuals. Moving over to Hotter Than July, BK. Oh, Lord. My former partner, I think it's better that I just don't mention his name because, my former partner was at large at SUNY Albany, and he had a pair of JBL large speakers. I can't even remember the model, but they were 18s. And I was a college student, so most of us college students who were major DJs up there on the campus didn't have our own equipment. So he was up there and he started renting out his system. And part of renting out his system, at times, he wanted to get on the set. And we all realized immediately that he doesn't understand the concept behind beat matching. I'm not even saying that he couldn't mix. He didn't know what beat matching was. And that was 30 some odd years ago. But he had the speakers and that Fendi amp. And every once in a while, if we didn't rent from this place called Drone Sounds, we called him up. And so we could do the parties. He contacted me after I'd left Soul Summit parties and said, listen, we got to do Von King Park. And everybody is going to be coming out because they know me. And they're going to be like, wow, we got some house music going on. And they know that individual. He was delusional. Nobody knew him. He was telling me, we're going to have 10,000 people out there. I should have known right on the spot that something was wrong, because not too many people know exactly what 10,000 people are. And as we were in the conversation, 20 minutes later, we're going to have 20,000 people out there. And he was serious. We're going to have 20,000 people. I'm like, the park doesn't even hold that, man. Stop. Stop. 15 minutes go by. I'm not exaggerating. You're going to have 30,000 people out there. Stop. Just stop. But I was for me, the presentation that he had given me, and then when I went out there and saw that we were going to have a band shell, and I was going to be back in the game because I wasn't doing Soul Summit anymore outdoors. I was just like, bet let's do Von King Park. That was a lot of work. Unfortunately, there was more work than being able to receive on that work. And I had to leave that alone. I just had to. There was just way too much work. And part of the reason also, as I'm mentioning about that individual, he didn't know about beat matching. He just wanted to get on. And I just don't know. You asked that question earlier today. Well, earlier during this meeting, something about what irks me about a DJ. You didn't say it exactly that way, but this man would get on and start playing. He put on his dark shades and start playing, and doesn't see everybody giving that screw face. So it was like, why are you punishing? It's the bedroom DJ concept. And for those of you who don't know exactly what a bedroom DJ concept is, it's where somebody plays in their own house, and would even have individuals come over and say, "You are the sugar honey iced tea," and start all this other stuff. Now it's time for me to play out. And it's a different, because I went through it when I was in college. I went through the same thing. I was the greatest DJ in the world in my dorm. I was a great DJ for that very first party that I played and debuted up at their campus center ballroom in Albany. After that, several parties, I sucked and had to learn, whoa, wait, all I can do is play house music all night long. No, nope, wasn't happening. Hey, listen, could you play some LL Cool J? Could you play some Buju? Nope, I ain't playing none of that. Larry's playing this at the garage. This is what I'm playing. And I learned big time. So Hotter Than July BK, also, once I started putting it on the message boards, this was like right before MySpace exploded, started letting people know that I'm back and I'm doing things. And of course, my phone is ringing off the hook and my inboxes are full of stuff. Yo, can I come through and play? We had many DJs that could not wait to be able to, they didn't know exactly what the venue was, but they wanted to come through and start playing. So I sorry to say, everybody, I know that a lot of people have some good memories, but the best night that we ever had out in that place for 3 years that we were out there, the numbers was about 250, 275. That I had to leave it alone.
A common trend we're seeing is the rise in popularity of outdoor parties, be it from Coney Island 25 years ago when you started it, to Soul Summit, to Hotter Than July BK. Why do you think they resonate with our crowd, those parties?
The exposure is fantastic. You don't have to worry about, you're walking around with your kids, you're walking around with your pets. People, oh, this is what's going on right now. The exposure is tremendous. The clubs, I know they have to make their money, so I'm not hating on you guys. I don't want to say but or however, so I'm holding myself back. I am giving my thoughts, so I'm trying to hold off from saying but or however. But those outdoor events, I said but anyway, those outdoor events, the exposure is so beautiful. You can come out there with your chairs, you get some vitamin D. It's a family thing. Coney Island's got the beach, and they've got the rides. Come on, what's good? You got the bodies out there that are half naked. Everybody know I like to be half naked. Let's go. Commodore Barry Park, Fort Greene, outdoors, outdoors, outdoors. So the presentation, in my view right now, with the indoor parties is that I know that they have to pay their bills, but they're not really that appealing to the crowd right now, especially drinks. I'll drink. I went to the rooftop party perfect example, last Sunday. Heineken costs $11. How many shifts do I have to work so I can be able to do a couple of those and pay for my woman? So, so the appeal is not there for family members or for people who like the outdoor parties as compared with the indoor clubs.
Totally makes sense. Let's talk about the next generation. What advice would you give to the next generation of?
Man, thank you for that too. Now what I figure, what I believe, this isn't factual, people, and I'm not hating. What I believe what's going on right now is that because you have the next generation of DJs coming up playing, you give them all the exposure, you give them all the events. And the product, for the most part, sorry, is not there. It's not there. I'm thinking about claiming one of my kids, claiming one of my kids and showing him or her how to DJ, and I can make some money off of them because they're younger, you know. But the next generation does get it. They just don't get the same exposure as we do. So to see them at the outdoor events is great, but I don't think that they fully understand the music the way it's being presented right now. And I am talking about some current young DJs that are playing.
That's facts. Co-sign that. What's next for DJ Raz?
Yeah, I had been told, I knew this for the longest time. I had to get myself together. There's a lot of shade going on behind the scenes, and you just have to know how to overcome it. Once again, fortunately for me, I've always insisted on not keeping DJing as my bread and butter. I can't do that. I just refuse to do that. I went to school, I have a degree, although I'm in a profession right now, it has nothing to do with the degree, and that happens with a lot of us. I'm very comfortable with that. So with that being said, I do have a couple of things that are coming up. We want to make sure that we can solidify those dates. August 12th is a possibility. And I'll say this much, in Prospect Park. In Prospect Park. It's a big park. Not going to let anybody know exactly what it is yet, because you know what happens. You start to let people know, or they start to come out and see what's going on, then they're going to jump on it and start buzzing in people's ears. It's not just a nature of house music. It happens in general. I have a degree in psychology, by the way, so not to say that I learned anything from it, but I just want to throw that out there. Like, yeah, you start to study people and know what goes on. Von King Park, another reason why I stopped doing that was, number one, I felt that the numbers weren't enough compared with the effort that was put in. Number two, other people came in and started snatching up dates. So that being said, what am I alluding to? Let's look at Coney Island. You got 3 parties going on at the same time at any given time. That's asinine. It is. Sorry, Barry. Barry and I had a conversation last weekend about it. Barry Mason, formerly of Kiss FM, good friend of mine. He said there's nothing wrong with some healthy competition. I think that you should still show some courtesy and respect for others when it comes to throwing a party. The first time I threw Hotter in July, Preston, Curvin rolled up on me and said, we had the same date, but because you're going to throw a date in Bed-Stuy, you're going to throw that date in Von King Park, we're going to fall back and we're going to start our parties the week after. Love them. That's the way it was. And I wasn't realizing at the time that Ray was up and coming, but he was getting ready to start launching parties out there with Ruben Toro. So, you know, on any given week, you had Preston and Curvin when they were together, and then you had Ray with Ruben Toro. So we had a courtesy for each other. Preston even rented out his system to me one weekend for some extremely super discount price. He knew he was doing it for the love of house, which is something that I did as well for people. I didn't even charge people with my system. It ain't the greatest system in the world, but if you're in an emergency, you know, like a certain individual that I did for an outdoor party years prior, I'm not even asking for money, but now you don't even want to acknowledge the fact that I helped you out.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about why. And what I mean by why is it's a lot of work and effort to do an outdoor party. You're not getting paid. You got to get the permit. You got to pick the date. You got to get there early. You got to set everything up. You got to wire it. And if the end of the party is done, you got to break everything down. That's a lot of work for no money. Why do you do it? Why do people do it?
I love showing off. That's simple and plain. I love entertaining and showing off. Love it. I love when people come up to you and say, "Oh, you DJ, you did a great job. Thank you." I don't know why other people do it. I just got finished doing something with Juwandi and Sister Love last weekend. Shouts out to Juwandi. He's all over the place. He's busy. That's my brother, my favorite Cubano. Love you, Ricky Ricardo. I do realize it's a business. I'm kind of set in my ways now. I do realize it's a business, but I'm not really, what can you think that you could possibly pay me to express myself and gain the accolades of the crowd? What do you, I couldn't assess a value to it. And again, I make some pretty good money. And I used to make some good change off of my CD sales. Ooh, did I make? I was able to pay rent. I don't do that anymore. Now I put out all my music for free on SoundCloud.
What could you make in a day selling CDs?
Should I tell on myself? All right, so it was years ago, but I do remember one day making $600.
Damn.
I do. That was, I don't sell them anymore, but yeah.
Wow.
All I had to do was just stand there half naked and hold the CDs up in the air. 1 for 10, 3 for 20. Everybody went for the 20.
Wow. So that brings me to my next question. You're always known for being with your shirt off. Explain.
Yes. Well, again, I'm from Coney Island, and so I was always near a beach. And for I can't even say most of my life anymore now, because now half my life I'm shirtless. People were laughing at me, telling me that I couldn't walk around with my shirt off or wearing a tank top, because you ever play Hangman? Hangman is a spelling game. It's a game where if you every time you get a letter wrong, they start to draw a different part of a stick figure. So I look like that stick figure in Hangman. So anyway, so people tell, you should be walking around with your shirt off, or you should be walking around with your tank top, because you were too skinny. You are skin and bones. Well, I started working out. And one day at Soul Summit, I had some kind of personal family problems going on. It was July 4th weekend, and I played that entire time on my own. Sadiq and Taboo and Jeff just gave me that whole day. And it was hot outside, and I was kind of dehydrated. So I was drinking water, but I had to take the shirt off. And people made comments about that. Every single time after that I played places, people started screaming, "Take your shirt off! Take your shirt off!" So.
Wow. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you want to talk about?
I saw the interview with Ali. I'm amazed. This guy, shouts to Ali, Miss Al Boogie. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that we had so much in common. She was from Albany. I went to Albany. She taught at my old high school. So I just wanted to give you a shout out. I looked at that interview because I had to prepare myself a little bit to what to this interview. So I didn't know exactly what was going to come down. And I think that you also, I think I saw a couple of interviews. Did you also interview Timmy Richardson?
No, not yet.
Okay. And you didn't? Okay. There was someone else that you interviewed. Can't remember, but to get back to Timmy Richardson, he said something that a lot of us are agreeing with. And I mean, it's an ugly business behind the scenes. And I'm not hating. what is this with the Afro beats? Everybody can become a DJ and do anything they want as long as they're playing Afro beats. As long as you play it, you can use the sync button. You don't even have to know how to. You don't even have to know. You don't have to mix. I think that we're losing, or we have lost, creativity, innovation, energy, because all you got to do is play Afrobeat and or EDM. I am annoyed at the fact, speaking about EDM, annoyed at the fact that down Ultra took over WMC down in Florida, and we also can talk about Ron DeSantis and his racist piece of. I don't know how EDM or Ultra was able to just the grandson took over WMC took over Soulful House. I'll leave Florida alone. We need to, if we're really, really into our music and bringing us back forward, we need to unify. We need to discuss. We need to converse what's next for us, and especially for the people that really rely on this music for a living. That's very important. That's essential. Somehow we need to figure this out. It's a divisive scene. It is. How do we come together and learn how to make a living off of it? Not me personally, necessarily, but the people that are in the game.
That's real talk. And the final question, if people want to book you, how do they reach you?
DJ Raz 2000 at Gmail. I'm Raz Tracks _ New York NY. Reggie Seal on Facebook. Raz Tracks _ NY on Instagram. My phone number is 718-636-0355. And on Facebook, you can catch me. I got too many friends right now. Reggie Seal, SEEL.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate your time and your story.
Thank you for reaching out. I mean, it seems like things are starting to happen again for me, in a sense. You reached out. I appreciate the fact that you interviewed me. I appreciate the fact that I did some work with Jawandi and Sister Love last Saturday. I appreciate the fact that I have a Twitch radio show coming up with my man Scott Burbine. Is coming Sunday. You can catch me with that. And the fact that I'm going to be able to start throwing my own parties in Prospect Park. And I'm going to let you know right now also that I think that I'm targeting doing an after party in Prospect Park after the Clubhouse Jamboree.
Oh, that's fire. That's fire. That's incredible. People should stay tuned.
So other than that, I look forward to going to Egypt. We're going to go to Tambor in October, and for the boat ride down the Nile and shake our tails and party.
That's incredible. All right, thank you so much. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
All right, man. Peace.
All right.